Sheesh. It's about time that, somebody gives us like 20 years of music industry knowledge or whatever in a nutshell, right? Shout out to Neighborhood Art Supply for zooming into this whole topic, you know what I'm saying? That's something that I want to take a deeper look into, right? I don't know about you. Let's see if we can learn anything from just like how things move, you know what I mean? And this is 20 years worth of information all in 30 minutes. Let's see, we might just like gain something beautiful from it, right? M.O.S.
God, but this ain't all about the pole part. Damn, how the fuck I'm being locked out?
The greats are equally as good at advertising and branding as they are creating their music and art. I've done a couple of videos that touch on this.
Okay.
You can check those out on the Neighborhood Art Supply channel.
Yep.
But the net of those videos is the point that advertising can be just as creative as making art, and more artists should embrace advertising and bringing awareness to their art.
Advertising.
It only helps their endeavors of bringing more people into their work. I've worked with management teams of some of the largest artists in the world, and something I've noticed about their strategy versus, say, a mid-tier act or a come-up act is that they plan their advertising and marketing efforts way in advance. The really big artists generally have a 24-month strategy plan that lays out big tentpole moments where the artist will engage their audience with story and bring awareness to whatever it is they want the audience to know about at that current moment. The mid-tier artist teams will usually do this too, but instead of being 24 months, I noticed that it's usually 4 to 6 months of planning, and they're hitting a few major moments for the artists. But these teams are often more focused on music release schedule than they are around branding and storytelling with the audience. They use the music releases and the content around the releases to be the strategy, which isn't a terrible strategy, but it'll definitely keep you in the middle. And then newer artists often don't have a marketing calendar at all. And they find themselves in scenarios where they've maybe forgotten to post, they need to make something quick, and then they'll often create stuff that is lackluster and it doesn't really move the audience. The big artists, they never get caught in this scenario. They know who they are, they know what the current story is, they know their themes, and they know what they're posting way in advance.
So I feel like, what I'm deriving from this point right here is the fact that it shouldn't be about the result, but about the principle. Be a principled artist so that, these principles, you can operate from a foundation of a principle. Standing on some shit that, standing on a sentiment that you're not willing to let go of. Right? As opposed to just like what result we're going to make or what result we're going to see out of a situation. That's good motion. I'm not gonna lie, that's good motion to move by.
It doesn't mean that if they have something significant happen that is of the moment, that they don't post about it. They find a way to work it into the calendar, but for the most part, they have it all mapped out. Also, the more savvy artists are often hiring people like me to come in and help them refine their stories and branding and help them come up with the ideas for these big tentpole moments so that they have a solid plan. Everything they do is done with intention, and everything they do has some form of plan and organization around what they're trying to accomplish. And lastly, on this point, advertising methods change. When we started the event at the Avalon, the main way that we were promoting that event was through newspaper ads. Yes, this used to happen. And we also had a street team. The street team would go all over LA, handing people our flyers and putting them on people's cars. Sorry, the people whose cars were covered in our flyers, to bring awareness to the event. Then that changed to being email blasts and text messages, and also with a little bit of street team. But then there came a time where everything we were doing was just digital. And it was digital ad buys, and we no longer utilized the street team.
Adapted
How
to the
people were
times.
getting their information on what shows were happening in LA changed, and we changed with it. The same concept can be applied to your artist project. Keep up with the times, try not to be a snob around how the next generation discovers, be an early adopter, don't get left behind. Number 6, your point of view and taste is everything. Think of your favorite artist. Don't you feel like you can easily point out the things that they seem to like? You can guess what their taste is.
Not quite,
This is because in their art and music, they've been clear with their point of view. This doesn't mean that they make the same song over and over, or that they only live inside a singular genre. All the greats don't do this. They often make all kinds of genres and jump all over the tempo spectrum. That's because they have a point of view. They have a way they cook, a similar perspective to their creative process, and similar filters for defining when something is done and ready to be shared. And the things that they share feel like it's absolutely them. Something I see a lot with the mid-tier acts is they look to other artists in the dance music space to inspire them on where they should go with their music and art. And while this can actually be a great way to get to the middle, it's absolutely the wrong method to get to the top. The artists at the top that I work with do not look at other artists for inspiration on what they should do or where they should go. If anything, they may look around, and when they see a bunch of people doing the same thing, that tells them where not to go. The greats look within. They look at their own story, their past, their experiences, their travels to inspire where they should go next. Mid-tier artists are often great mimics, and they get caught chasing the dragon, jumping from one popular genre to the next, trying to stay on trend. Top artists don't do this. They bring you into their taste and their universe and give you a piece of themselves. Your taste and your unique life experiences are your superpowers. Never forget that.
The more you don't think about other things and how people see you, the more you find out who you are, and you can train your soul and your mind to be yourself as you're creating and not try to think of anything else. That's the best. I mean, success is something you attract, not something you catch. So you have to work on really being the most to yourself. You have to connect with your music and be attracted to your music. Like, that's everything. It's nothing to do with trying to catch people's attention.
Number 7, save your money or invest in real estate. Or both. I can tell you one thing for certain. No matter how high you climb, no matter how much success you have, it will not last forever.
It won't, bro. And I feel like, yo, this is actually the kind of rude awakening that a whole lot of people, you know what I'm saying, maybe they might not be leaning into. It's a rude awakening. It makes you nervous when you're an artist. You're like, damn, I don't even have at least offline investments, or investments that are just outside of this music thing that I'm, you know what I mean, that I'm kicking, And I feel like, yo, it oh my god, like it presents, or it develops a secure mind in how you move, knowing that, yeah, I have investments that have been made elsewhere to secure my, my income stream, so that I don't have to create under the pressure of just, I need to make more money, or whatever. Like, it frees you in a whole lot of ways. Like, I can agree with this.
Every artist has dips in their career. How you manage those dips will define how long you can stay and where you fall in the game.
True.
This lesson is likely not new to you, and you've probably heard this before.
I have.
But it's one of the key things that I've seen from the artists who remain at the top.
Right.
They don't blow their money on frivolous things.
Damn.
There's a few things here and there that they bought, but for them.
But I need that frivolous shit, dog. Damn. You know what I'm saying? I'll be, yeah, come on, man. But then again, bro, shout out to Soul Illuminati. You know what that nigga said? He came back from one of his long breaks or whatever, right? And he came back with a very powerful message. The opening of the video was, protect your gaze. I was like, yo, say no more. Yo, say no more. I'm done with this video. And it was like 10 seconds in the video. I was like, gee, bro, what? Say no more.
Most part, they understood that this was a long game and that you're going to need food for later.
Exactly.
So most of what they spend their money on is either stuff to make themselves or their art better, or it's some kind of appreciating investment. Many of the artists I know, when they started making money, invested in multifamily real estate because it was an appreciating asset that took their money and made them more money. And I won't spend too much time here because you get it. Save your money for a rainy day, or invest in real estate, or ideally both.
That's outside
Number
of
8,
music. That's general.
Don't quit your day job until it's time. This is probably the question I get asked most from the mid-tier artists that are in the 2 to 5K per show range. They start to make money in music, and then they feel like if they have more time outside of their day job to work on music, that they could scale the business faster. And for some artists, the answer to this question could be yes, it's time to dive fully in. As soon as you make music the primary source of income and the thing that drives the quality of your life, so many of the aspects of music begin to change, and your relationship to it begins to change. The decisions people make around their music changes when it's more of a question of survival. When you bring the concept of survival into your mind, it often drives stress. And that kind of stress, from what I've seen, doesn't make for the best music. And artists that are trying to get another hit so they can tour and make money usually aren't making their best music. And I don't know how many people know this, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was a millionaire before he ever started acting. He always wanted to be an actor, and his dream was to be Hercules on the screen in movie theaters all over the world. But he saw that many of his friends were having to take bad acting roles that were hurting their brand so that they could eat and survive. So before he got started in his acting career, he worked as a bricklayer, and he took that money and he invested in multifamily real estate. And then once he was financially secure, he was able to strategically choose his acting roles, and he tried never to take a gig that would hurt his brand or might hurt the chances of his dreams coming true. Once music becomes your full-time job, it's hard to keep it pure and have it not change the art. And for most artists, they actually won't see that this is happening or learn this lesson until they start making 20K plus per show. They get the cars, they get the houses, headlining festivals, sold out shows everywhere. They realize that this is actually not the thing that is bringing them the happiness and fulfillment that they've been working so hard for.
Damn. Wait, let me find something out here by Copilot right quick, right? Let me see if my software can give you the right advice. Copilot.
Hi there, Sizway.
How are you doing? Go. You good, Mod?
Absolutely. I'm right here and ready to dive in whenever you are.
Yo,
so,
pause. We're diving to what? Wait, no, my fault. Look, what advice would you give somebody who's trying to be a full-time artist and who is having the expectation that, just, do like music, that is, an artist in music. It could be an artist in whatever aspect, but we talking music right now, right? So it's like, what advice would you give somebody who's expecting for them to, generate sustenance of their own life through purely music? Would you say that's a good thing to consider? I'm talking just considering I'm talking just creating music, you know what I'm saying, with no other aspects of business generation, you know what I mean, and just creating music but expecting maximum results in terms of business. What sense could you knock into somebody's head who believes things that way?
Well, it's an interesting line of thought, focusing purely on creating music as an art form can be such a beautiful thing. It's like living and breathing your passion without worrying about all the extra layers of business. But at the end of the day, there does come a point where you might need to weave in a little bit of that business sense to get your music out there to a bigger audience. So it's all about balance, right? If someone's super set on just creating tunes and nothing else, I'd say the main thing is finding a way to keep the love of the craft alive, while also nudging them to consider some practical steps so that art doesn't just stay in the shadows.
Yeah, so let's say an artist that's trying to get into this, creating their art type motion in 2026 moving forward, but they're trying to live off of them being an artist. You know what I mean? What pointers could you give that person?
Well, I'd say first off, it's all about embracing that journey. In 2026 or any year really, the heartbeat of living off your art is finding those unique ways to connect with an audience who vibes with it. And yeah, you definitely want to keep that creative spirit alive without getting tangled up in business worries right out the gate.
Okay, so okay. Let me. Oh shit, yeah. Get into the advice, please. I'm sorry I disturbed you. Get into the advice. Specific, real life examples type of advice.
Not a problem at all. Let's dive in. If someone in 2026 is really trying to make a living off their art, a real-world example might be this. Imagine they start by building a strong online presence, maybe streaming their creative process or sharing behind-the-scenes glimpses. That can build a loyal community who not only loves their music, but might support them on platforms like Patreon. From there, once they've got that tight-knit community, they could think about offering exclusive tracks or special live sessions that bring a bit of income in. It's all about mixing that passion with some practical steps. So what's the next thing on your mind?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie, for the most part, bro, like the video and the pointers that they gave, it should be enough for people to just see the general scope of how things are supposed to move, you know what I'm saying, moving forward.